So far, we have been looking at these elements in HTML together with heading, paragraph, and the attributes some of these elements may happen to have. Now, the next attribute we are going to be looking at, which is a very special attribute for HTML elements, is the style attribute, because these allow us to display the text in different ways. That is, styling it and making it visual appealing. So we have HTML style here, and we have a sample of the output here where we have I am red, I am blue, and I am big. So with the style attribute, we can do a lot of style. We can beautify our text and display them the way we want it to be. So the HTML style attribute, how do we format that? We have our tag name, which may be h1 or p tag. So far so good. And how do we have the style attribute? We have it in the opening tag name, where after the tag name we have the style, the attribute to be style. Then we set the value to property value pair, just like this key value pair, where we have that property we are trying to set then the value we are trying to set it to be. So yeah, I can have a sample to be, okay, if this I want to style this, then I can just set the color here, then the color, what value should the color be. So that is just a sample of what we mean by the style attribute. So the property is the CSS property and the value is the CSS value. So when we get into CSS, we'll look into that in much details. So now, how can we set the background color of an element? Like we saw in the slide in our first lecture, we have a sample website that just display two text, and we set the background color of the paragraphs there. So how can we achieve that? This is what we do here. We have our elements h1 and p, but here they are just very simple because nothing is added to this point. But in our body tag here, we have the style attribute, which the value is now set to background, which the property is set to background color, then the value is set to be powder blue. We can take a view at that looking at this here, when we have the style background color to be powder blue. So if you should update this value here, the value should be adjusted on our web page also. So that is a simple declaration of style. And we can now take a look at other, where we also have background color. We can also set background color for two different elements, and we know that h1 and p are block elements, so they are different. Here we set the background color of the h1 to powdered blue, and the p paragraph tag to tomato color. Now we can see that here in our text, this h1 is the one that is having this background color to be powdered blue, then the paragraph text is the one that is having the background color to set to tomato. We will see that in our code, and I will show you how to get around that. Then aside the background color of elements, we can also set the color of a text by just setting the property name to be color instead of background color, as we have the case to be in this upper part here. So here we are only going to be using the color as a property name, then we set the value to whatever color we are trying to work with. As you can see here, it's only the text color, not compared to what we had in our previous lecture, which is the background color. So this is only affecting the text itself. So we look at font size. To set that, we is still under style attribute, then the value is now what is going to be changing, which is the property and the value that we have. So here we are only trying to change the font family. That means what handwriting will be using here. We have Verdana and we have Courier. So this is a property and this Verdana here is a value. So we hit try to solve, and we can see that these texts are displayed in different formatting. Here we have the text is displayed in Verdana. That's why this is styled this way, and we have this text to be displayed using this Courier. That is why the text is formatted this way. So we can achieve a lot using this style attribute with different property and value. We can also change the text size such as what we have here, still under the style attribute. Then the property is what will now be changing, font size, not text size. So we are only going to be using font size, and up here also it's also font family. So whenever we are trying to do or work on a text, the styling of a text, we use fonts. Then the other part will be whether it is font family, font size, font weight, etc. So we have several property we can attach to that. Then here I'm setting it to 300 and here 160. We can take a view at that. As you can see, they are this thing is actually very different. So if I change this to be 10%, then you see the effect, how very small it look here. So I can also change it to 100%, and we see the effect here, which is now displayed here. So working with style attributes in our HTML, we can display our text or elements in different way. Here we also have the text alignment now. So here is the text alignment property is CSS property, which defines the horizontal text alignment for an HTML element. So just like horizontally, there is on a straight line this way. So I want the text to be centered on the web page. We can see an example of that when the text align is set to center here. This is the centered heading, and this is also the centered paragraph. So I can just change this and say maybe I want it to be right. Then we see what we have. Then this should be left. That is left. Then this should be so RIGHT, sorry, that is a typographical error. So RIGHT, that's the spelling of right, and we can see that is centered to the right here. So this centered heading, I can just take it back to the center, and I have it to be this way. Centered heading and text align for the paragraph is set to right. I can say this is a right paragraph, that is right aligned paragraph. So I can just hit run, then I can see the changes here. So that is about the style attribute that we can simply look at. We have several other style attributes, but the ones we have actually take a look at in this chapter is that we have looked at the style attribute on its own. Then we will look at the properties that we can actually set for them, which is background color. We have looked at the color, which set the color for a text, and we look at font family, font size, which is used to set the size of its text, and also the text align property, which is used to align text whether in the center, middle, that is the middle. Then we have looked at the number one, which is left, and we have looked at the other one, which is right. So let's go into our code here and look at what we have here. So yeah, as you can see here, I just try to make my screen much bigger so that we can read it clearly. Here I have the title of my web page to be my web page with styling, and I have the body here, which set the background color to powdered blue. I can also adjust that background color from here by hovering over this, then it will give it a different color, which will change to RGB. Then here I have, this is an HTML style attribute, and my name is Salami Abdullah. So here I have the P element, which is having the title attribute here, and the value is set to a string, which is saying I am a tulip. Then here also I have a style attribute, but the value now is now key value pair, which I'm setting the color, which is the property name, to blue, which is the value. Then the paragraph text that I have here. Then in this paragraph text, I have the style attribute also, which is setting background color of this text on its own to tomato. Here I have a style attribute which have several values. This is just an illustration for us to know that we can actually have more than one property set for a particular element. Here we have the font family, and we also have the font size, which is set the size of the text. So the font family here is set to Korea, whereas the font size is set to 160%. So yeah, I only have the text align set to centered, and here I have several styling options. several attributes, the title attribute, and this end the quote, and I also have the style attribute. So I can save this and view this in my browser. So to view this, I go back to my folder. This is the folder I'm working with, the web code, and the code that I've just written is actually in my index.html file. So I just minimize and go back here, and I double tap this so that it will be opened with the Chrome browser. So yeah, I have the simple text that I've actually worked with, and as you can see, it says my web page with styling, which is the title that I actually gave my text, and this is the HTML style attribute. My name is Sulami Abdullah. Then this is a paragraph which is in blue. As we can see here, this is the paragraph. I set the color to be blue, and here we have the background color set to tomato, which is holding W3 School is a web developer site. So let's take a look at that. W3 School is a web developer site, which is what we have on this line. So I only set the background color of that to tomato, and as you can see, I still have an attribute here which is title, and that title is holding a string value which is I am a tulip, and also setting the style to blue. Let's see if that is still working. Just for clarification, as I hover over this, it says I am a tulip, which means you can have several attributes on a particular element as long as the attributes are different. Look at this, I'm having title attribute and also the style attribute set to their respective value. And here also I have another paragraph which I've increased the font size to be 160% and setting the font family, which is the handwriting, to Korea. And also I have the text that I said this is an horizontally centered paragraph, and by using the style attribute text align center to set that to the value that I actually want. So with this, you can actually perform several operations with the style attribute just to beautify your web page the way you would like it to be. So let's look at an exercise here, and I would like to wait for you to give me the answer to this. It says use the correct HTML attribute and CSS to set the color of the paragraph to blue. So what do you think I can do? Use the correct CSS attribute, HTML attribute, and CSS to set the color of a paragraph to blue. So what I will just do is, it's not that I will just actually type color and say okay, color is equal to this. No, what you do is you use the style attribute is what you are working with. Then you will now say okay, this style attribute, I want to set the color to be what? To be blue. And that is all. So this is the solution to this exercise. And if you have done this before watching the solution, congratulations, you at least you are able to move one step ahead. So we have other several stuff you can look at in the reference. Just look at any other documentation and styles that you can actually use in your HTML. Thank you.